And I'm back. More Dragon Quest VII. I spent some time yesterday talking about how Kiefer, in his haste and wanderlust, fell for someone he barely knows, and the game has barely talked about because we're barely here. Anyway, let's do more of it, shall we? Let's going through this map. There's a dungeon.
Oh.
So yeah, I said before, pretty much said my piece at the end of the last video. Don't fall for someone out of nowhere. And, you know, maybe this is just 40-year-old me talking instead of 15-year-old me, because that's what Kiefer probably is, 15-ish, 20-ish, I don't know. He's being stupid, he's being foolish, I understand that. But man, don't throw your life away on a whim. I trust the journey has left you not too much fatigued. That is good. We're prepared to make the shocking news. It seems the 2 sacred items required to free the Almighty lie in wait in the depths. Not within the cave, but within the altar itself. It would appear I failed to correctly decipher the ancient texts. Rather embarrassing, but it can't be helped now. We're holding a meeting to try and devise a means by which we could access the altar in the lake. It may take a while, but feel free to rest in one of our tents. So we're going into a dungeon and killing stuff, are we? That's what we usually do with the situations like these. Anyway.
Right.
You have awoken. Finally, the elders have discovered how the waters may be drained. You and I must head into the cave without further delay. Madame Rosa and the others believe that the mechanism for draining the lake must be activated in using the chimes of the chosen. What better proof of our birthright can there be? These have been passed down through all the generations, but they may only be sounded by a roamer of pure blood. As such, there is no question of you entering the cave alone. I will come with you. Let us do what we can to assist one another. Now, come! Right. Let us kill some stuff in the cave. So, we gonna be killing some stuff. A lot of the same enemies we've been fighting. But thankfully, I have 3 sets of group attacking enemies, or group attacking weapons, so it should be fine. Ow, you missed. Ah, you missed. Go me. I imagine this game's gonna get harder eventually. Rough. Yay! Rough. Babu! Babu! Ah! Ugh, disgusting. Ow! Yay! Yeah. Yeah. Gross.
All in a day's work.
So I've got enough videos for what I need to stay ahead of the curve. And thankfully, I'm not worried about long nights anymore. The Wild and Avalanche series is now going to be playing at 7 o'clock games instead of like 8:30 games, which is going to make a difference in me getting home and getting enough sleep. So that's good. So I should be able to get to the videos I normally want to get rather than having to make a bunch of videos in a run like I did last week.
Easy peasy.
So the biggest thing for me is just realizing kind of how easy the early parts, and, you know, even by RPG standards and Dragon Quest standards, this is very easy. I don't know if it was meant to be that way. I mean, I don't know if they rebalanced the game, or if this is just how the original game was designed. But to be fair, I'm not really complaining either. It's just an observation. It's just an observation I'm having, because Dragon Quest III was a lot more straightforward. Disgraceful! Even a sacred spot such as this has been ransacked by monsters. It would not surprise me if they've already destroyed the treasures bequeathed to us by the Almighty. We must be prepared for anything. Because I have said this before, I don't really care if a game isn't challenging at all. I'm mainly making it as an observation of the games that... Oh, he gets to go twice. It's more an observation than a complaint. Because if I'm going to make an observation about it, it's more that I'm kind of happy that a game is as easy as it is, rather than hating on it for being easy. Because if I wanted it to be harder, I can change those, right? These are the normal settings has been required. I mean, the gold. Maybe a slight difference is I'm able to get equipment easier, and that might have an effect, but not to an appreciable degree that enemies can't really kill me unless they gang up on me. But I do think the game is gonna get harder. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, it is what it's gonna be. Because then that means that this game has been balanced around being a little more player-friendly. And being able to choose that. And I said this about the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters, too. People are allowed to play how they want. And if a gamer, or if a developer decides, hey, we want to make this super fucking difficult or have some frustrating spots in it, we'll make some frustrating spots in it, like the final bosses in Dragon Quest III, or a lot of the fact that the random encounters existed at all. Fixed encounters, like, I can avoid a lot of the encounters I choose to. In 3, I didn't have that luxury. It was a lot more straightforward of an experience, and a lot more frustrating. But toggling encounters, and if I wanted to, I could toggle having to fight enemies at all in this. I could just fight bosses, but I don't know if that'd be very interesting gameplay-wise. But I have stated, I'm a story-first person. So, I always come from that as my default. And the easier it is for me to get to the story bits, and the less time I'm spending doing gameplay stuff, it's fine. Some other people might want a better challenge. Or if they're playing this again, they want to challenge themselves a little harder. Play it differently. Get less money.
Day's work.
Do less damage. Have monsters do more damage to them. You can vary it however you like. That's what matters. Having the choice to do with the game however you please. Because there are some games where you're not allowed that choice. Now prove you're of the chosen line, and lo, your onward path shall shine. Okay. And let's be fair, these guys are actually hitting me a little hard, but... Ow. Because a game does have to be difficult to some degree, unless you're playing on story. So... That doesn't... Weird.
All in a day's work.
Oh boy, a copper sword this late. That's really gonna help me. Aha! I'ma stab you. God, stop it! Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Hooray! And this is to say nothing of the vocation system I'm gonna get later. This is just with the basic stuff I've already leveled up. So, 5, 8, let's get her. There we go. Money! So my main goal right now is just to keep pace. And that's why, monitoring my schedule is important, because I don't want to be doing too many videos all at once if I can help it. I like doing... I like the, I like the normalcy, the habit forming of just waking up, doing my workouts, getting my 2 videos in for the day, and then moving on, right? Because that's become the way I do it. Because everybody has a different way of doing videos, and I have, you know, 2 videos of 2 different playthroughs going on at once each day, because these games are long. And it's worked out for me. And I do think if people wanted to watch one, both, or none, that's their prerogative, but I do think it's smart the way I have done it. Because it takes just enough time to get the 2 things done. And then move on to other things. But I also think it's good because people aren't locked into one game. And you shouldn't have to be. You shouldn't have to be locked into one game, especially if it's a longer-term investment. Because this might take me another 2 months. Maybe longer. I don't know. I'm about a third of the way through the game, give or take. Maybe even a midway point between a third and a fourth. Or a fourth and a third. I don't really know specifically. But there is something to be said about just waking up and feeling happy about, oh, I just gotta do the 2. Yay! And that's it. And in rare instances, I have to do more than 1. Okay, that's fine. That's not an imposition if I have a day off. Because again, everybody's different. Some people could be like, I just want to do 1 video game a couple times a week.
That was easy.
Sometimes they just want to do 1 game, be done with it. Some people do like the alternating days. And I admit that it can be a bit too much to do 2 games each day. But I think people can understand why, given that the games I play are the longer term ones, that I want to get them done at a reasonable pace. And also, again, being able to choose. Do I just want to watch Dragon Quest? Do I just want to watch Danganronpa for the 6 to 8 months it's probably going to take to beat that? You know? Or do I just want to wait it out and wait for something else? Because I can't really control what a person watching will or will not want to watch. I give them some control of, like, a few of the games that I might want to play next. The only thing I can say is that I'm happy that people would even want to watch a video at once, or maybe even down, like, there are some games, like Final Fantasy V, people still watching some of those. Specifically the more popular ones, or the ones people most watch. The job system, or the fire ship, or something. The ones that most people watch, just to get a gauge of, like, why is this one the popular one? Or, you know, the Phoenix Wright episodes. Or, you know, I think people were watching Breath of Fire 2. My thoughts on that game aside, it's like, you know, people watch what they want to watch. After a certain point, you're just like, I want to play a different game because I want to play a different game. I got through most of the Final Fantasy games I want to play. Not saying I'm not gonna play 12, 13, 15, 6, well, not 13 unless they remaster it, but they will someday. But you see what I mean. Like, I've made my thoughts very obvious on this channel before, here and there, about 12. But the longer it goes, the more apt I am to be like, alright, I'm willing to just set that aside eventually when push comes to shove. An iffy Final Fantasy game to me is still probably going to be better than not playing anything at all. But that's a far-flung future. I want to make that perfectly clear. It's one of those things where it's like, even if it's a situation like playing Trails, a game franchise I like from a developer, you know, but I don't personally like a bunch, I could still sit here and say, okay, in a far-flung future, would I play that versus just giving up, just having nothing? And I believe that's the proper way of doing things. Because there's enjoyment to be had in anything if a game is good. And even if a game isn't, like, my cup of tea, I can recognize that I'm sure there's some enjoyment to be had in discovering it, eventually. Ooh, critical heal. Nice. So that's why getting through the Final Fantasy games that I did, at the pace I did, it wasn't just, oh, this is a Persona channel, oh, this is a Final Fantasy channel, and I've talked about this before, but just to reiterate the point, I think there's enough variety on display that it's never felt like it's just been that. Like, just because Final Fantasy is done, that now it's a Dragon Quest channel. Or that I'm just kind of waiting for the next Persona or SMT game. If that were the case, I would have played Metaphor ReFantasia by now. That isn't what happened. I pick some games here and there that I think are interesting at the time, and they get voted on. So that's why stuff like Suikoden happened. Or, you know, or it might be a situation like Ys Origin where the game's in between. Like Castlevania. It took 5 years. That stuff happens. You know, I'm not going to complain about it. Because there's kind of a give and take. Because the people who want to see a thing are more apt to watch a thing. I don't think I'm at a situation where a person is just watching for their own amusement, because otherwise they'd play the game for themselves. I think people voting on a thing genuinely like a product and want to see it displayed, maybe for their own benefit, maybe because they're curious, maybe because they want me to be curious. Because there are some instances like this where I haven't played a game, but I know enough about the franchise that it's like, oh, well, I'm not having trouble here. This is... Man, one? Really? Ew. Well, look at that. I get 1 extra point. That's huge. Unless... Let me check here. It's just base defense? Yeah, it's just base defense. Okay. Because I think I'm at that point now where people know what they're expecting. I think people kind of know, I love me some Final Fantasy, the early ones. I love me Persona. I love me Yakuza. And I love me some Dragon Quest. But that doesn't mean that I'm against playing something. Why are you back here? God damn. That I'm not against playing a Trails game. Wow, damn, that did a lot more damage. I'm not against playing... Jesus! That's a lot of crits. Maybe I got lucky. No, I did get lucky.
That was easy.
But also think about what games are still available. stuff like Catherine, Sea of Stars, Chained Echoes, the Star Ocean games, some of the Phantasy Star games, even if they weren't like the most amazing games, they still are fun to some extent. Or even some of the side content games, you know, the buffer games that I call them. Streets of Rage, TMNT 4, you know, Rock and Roll Racing. Those are things in my head that I want to play eventually. As long as my body and my mind hold out, I want to play them all. Because I made this a point. Like, I'm not going to play a game unless I just absolutely detest it. But I mean, who would have figured we'd get to the point where I'd be playing something like Bayonetta? Does Bayonetta exactly fit the profile of the channel? I don't know. I mean, it's weird Japanese shit. So, it doesn't have to be pure JRPGs or pure visual novels. It can be anything. But it still fits the mode of JRPG, or fits a Japanese mindset, coming from a person who is an American, who grew up playing these games all the time, and that's what I play. And to think that it's been 6 or 7 years, and I've not run out of anything anytime soon. Ow. Maribel's having a hard time. There is something nice about that. And think about this. Like, I could have done Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's to say nothing about Final Fantasy VII Remake. I made it, I made a point a while back that Lee and I were going to do it.
That was easy.
Still might. It depends on other factors and whatnot. But I am kind of iffy on where Final Fantasy... I don't want to leave. Please don't leave by accident. Like, Final Fantasy VII Remake is one of those things where it's like... I hope that the ending justifies it, so that I feel like playing the other two doesn't feel like a waste. And then Crisis Core. Like, I might do Crisis Core, whatever, you know, stuff like that. Because I think Final Fantasy VII Remake got the characters down perfect, got the visuals and the music down perfectly. The gameplay is not my cup of tea, but I worked around it when I first played it. Rebirth, like, is better, but the ending is still weird and stupid in a weird way. But it could still end up being interesting. That's why I'm kind of on the fence as on the property as a whole. Like, the Final Fantasy VII-ness of Final Fantasy VII Remake is amazing. But it has issues that are like, I don't know. It'll end up being one of the situations where once... I don't know if they called it Reunion. Odds are they'll call it Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Let's just go with that. Final Fantasy VII Reunion ends up being awesome. It's one of those situations where I'm gonna love playing it. And I'm gonna love playing the games back to back to back. Including Intergrade. You know, because I've done that with Danganronpa. I've done it with some other franchises lately. I don't have a problem playing them back to back to back. But having the assurance that I will like the game enough is something I want to find out first. I think the only time I've ever not finished a game was Nier Automata. And not because I didn't like Nier Automata, it was because the game didn't really like me much and then punished me for doing stuff that I wasn't aware of. And I just got sick of it. So, if you're wondering why Nier Automata ended, it was because I got to Route C and they punished me in an hour-long fight scene for running away in a spot that I didn't run away from, that I didn't know I could run away from, and was punished for. And I had to redo the whole thing, and I said, fuck it. Doesn't mean the game's terrible. Just means you're making me do this shit? Ugh. Anyway, a stone engraved with ancient text. A chest that rests in a wintry bath will show us the Almighty's path. At least that's what I believe it says. What is it? You seem strange. Huh? You can suddenly read the words himself? What? If I didn't know any better, it seems you knew exactly what was written there without any help. But it seems the effort of reading it has you rather worn down. You're still new to this, I suppose. I've been reading these ancient texts since I was but a boy. I would hardly be considered worthy of Lala's hand otherwise. I struggle sometimes, but I study every day. And not only at reading, but the Torban, too, and the ancient arts. Yet despite my efforts, I remain uneasy. The ritual grows near, and yet my Lala grows distant. This is how it feels, at least. But I digress from the matter at hand. Let us consult the words of the stone to memory and move on. Is there going to be a save point somewhere? Or am I going to have to cut this into 2 parts? I may have to. Where am I at? Anyway. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to cut this into parts. Let me get through this, like, thought I'm doing. Because again, I didn't hate Nier. I was growing a little tired of its weird bullshit and mechanics, but I was there for the story. The story was amazing. But god damn it if the game didn't let me down at almost every turn. So, I liked it for the story, I did not like it for its gameplay. And then deciding to just arbitrarily tell me, nah, you're gonna do that fight again whether you like it or not because I said so, without telling me that leaving a battlefield I had no idea I could leave was my fault. So, how was that my fault? I'm like, I'm supposed to deal with another playthrough of this? Why? I don't know. So again, that was like the one time. Huh? That was like the one instance I just was like, eh. That was the one instance I was just like, yeah, no. Yeah, no.
Hey!
So, anyway, I talked your guys' ear off about things I've talked about before, but I always kind of use these episodes as resets. And I don't know how long the next one is. I think I could use the next one, because I haven't done this much since Persona, the dungeon dives and the whatevers and just talking points. I forgot what I used to call them when they were in Persona, where I would spend time in an episode talking about a subject to pass the time. Dungeon rants. Because I got that term from somebody known as Nakatalili, who's been doing this way longer and is like awesome at this stuff. If you haven't seen him, watch his stuff because he's been doing it for like 15 years. Dungeon rants. So yeah, more dungeon rants to come. This one was just about kind of resetting myself. Next one, I think I'll talk about this game proper and kind of the structure and what I'm liking about it and what I'm not liking about it. So I'll just have to remind myself, because it looks like we're just doing Dragon Quest today, because I don't have a fucking save point. Go big freaking dungeon, I guess. I guess that's a Striking Benson's game. I don't know. But who knows? Maybe I'll talk about that in the scope of a dungeon rant. I'll see you next time.